to the rose upon the rood of time. Red rose, proud rose, sad rose of all my days, come near me while I sing the ancient ways. Cuchulainn battling with the bitter tide, the druid grey, wood-nurtured, quiet-eyed, who cast round Fergus dreams and ruin untold, and thine own sadness, whereof stars grown old in dancing silver-sandaled on the sea sing in their high and lonely melody. Come near, that no more blinded by man's fate, I find under the boughs of love and hate, in all poor foolish things that live a day, eternal beauty wandering on her way. Come near, come near, come near. Ah, leave me still a little space for the rose breath to fill, lest I no more hear common things that crave, the weak worm hiding down in its small cave, the field mouse running by me in the grass, and heavy mortal hopes that toil and pass, but seek alone to hear the strange things said by God to the bright hearts of those long dead, and learn to chant a tongue men do not know. Come near, I would before my time to go sing of old Eire and the ancient ways. Red rose, proud rose, sad rose of all my days. End of poem. Fergus. The whole day have I followed in the rocks, and you have changed and flowed from shape to shape, first as a raven on whose ancient wings scarcely a feather lingered, then you seemed a weasel moving on from stone to stone, and now at last you wear a human shape, a thin grey man half lost in gathering night. Druid. What would you, king of the proud red branch kings? This would I say, most wise of living souls. Young subtle Conchobar sat close by me when I gave judgment, and his words were wise, and what to me was burden without end, to him seemed easy. So I laid the crown upon his head to cast away my care. What would you, king of the proud red branch kings? I feast amid my people on the hill, and pace the woods, and drive my chariot wheels in the white border of the murmuring sea, and still I feel the crown upon my head. What would you, king of the proud red branch kings? I'd put away the foolish might of a king, but learn the dreaming wisdom that is yours. Look on my thin grey hair and hollow cheeks, and on these hands that may not lift the sword, this body trembling like a wind-blown reed. No maiden loves me, no man seeks my help, because I be not of the things I dream. A wild and foolish laborer is a king, to do and do and do, and never dream. Take, if you must, this little bag of dreams, unloose the cord, and they will wrap you round. I see my life go dripping like a stream from change to change. I have been many things, a green drop in the surge, a gleam of light upon a sword, a fir tree on a hill, an old slave grinding at a heavy quern, a king sitting upon a chair of gold. And all these things were wonderful and great, but now I have grown nothing, being all, and the whole world weighs down upon my heart. Ah, Druid, Druid, how great webs of sorrow lay hidden in the small slate-colored thing. End of poem. A man came slowly from the setting sun to Forgale's daughter, Emer, in her dun, and found her dyeing cloth with subtle care, and said, casting aside his draggled hair, I am Alil, the swineherd whom you bid go dwell upon the sea cliffs, vapor hid. But now my years of watching are no more. Then Emer cast the web upon the floor, and stretching out her arms, red with the dye, parted her lips with a loud sudden cry. Looking on her, Alil the swineherd said, Not any god alive, nor mortal dead, has slain so mighty armies, so great kings, nor won the gold that now Cuchulainn brings. Why do you tremble thus from feet to crown? Alil the swineherd wept and cast him down upon the web-heaped floor, and thus his word, With him is one sweet-throated like a bird, and lovelier than the moon upon the sea. He made for her an army cease to be. Who bade you tell these things? And then she cried to those about, Beat him with thongs of hide and drive him from the door. And thus it was. And where her son Finmo on the smooth grass was driving cattle, came she with swift feet and called out to him, Son, it is not meet that you stay idling here with flocks and herds. I have long waited, mother, for those words, but wherefore now? There is a man to die. You have the heaviest arm under the sky. My father dwells among the sea-worn bands, and breaks the ridge of battle with his hands. Nay, you are taller than Cuchulainn, son. He is the mightiest man in ship or dun. Nay, he is old and sad with many wars, and weary of the crash of battle cars. I only ask what way my journey lies, for God who made you bitter made you wise. The red branch kings a tireless banquet keep, where the sun falls into the western deep. Go there, and dwell on the green forest rim, but tell alone your name and house to him whose blade compels, and bid them send you one who has a like vow from their triple dun. Between the lavish shelter of a wood and the grey tide, the red branch multitude feasted, and with them old Cuchulainn dwelt, and his young dear one close beside him knelt, and gazed upon the wisdom of his eyes, more mournful than the depth of starry skies, and pondered on the wonder of his days. And all around the harp string told his praise, and Conchubar, the red branch king of kings, with his own fingers touched the brazen strings. At last Cuchulainn spake, A young man strays driving the deer along the woody ways. I often hear him singing to and fro. I often hear the sweet sound of his bow. Seek out what man he is. One went and came. He bade me let all know he gives his name at the sword point, and bade me bring him one who had a like vow from our triple dun. I only of the red branch hosted now, Cuchulainn cried, have made and keep that vow. After short fighting in the leafy shade, he spake to the young man, Is there no maid who loves you, no white arms to wrap you round? Or do you long for the dim sleepy ground, that you come here to meet this ancient sword? The dooms of men are in God's hidden hoard. Your head awhile seemed like a woman's head that I loved once. Again the fighting sped, but now the war rage in Cuchulainn woke, and through the other's shield his long blade broke, and pierced him. Speak before your breath is done. I am Finmo, mighty Cuchulain's son. I put you from your pain, I can no more. While day its burden on to evening bore, with head bowed on his knees Cuchulain stayed. Then Conchobar sent that sweet-throated maid, and she, to win him, his grey hair caressed. In vain her arms, in vain her soft white breast. Then Conchobar, the subtlest of all men, ranking his druids round him 10 by 10, spake thus: Cuchulain will dwell there and brood for 3 days more in dreadful quietude, and then arise, and raving slay us all. Go, cast on him delusions magical, that he may fight the waves of the loud sea. And 10 by 10, under a quickened tree, the druids chanted, swaying in their hands tall wands of alder and white quicken wands. In 3 days' time Cuchulain with a moan stood up, and came to the long sands alone. For 4 days warred he with the bitter tide, and the waves flowed above him, and he died. End of poem. Who dreamed that beauty passes like a dream? For these red lips, with all their mournful pride, mournful that no new wonder may betide, Troy passed away in one high funeral gleam, and Usna's children died. We and the laboring world are passing by, amid men's souls that waver and give place, like the pale waters in their wintry race, under the passing stars, foam of the sky, lives on this lonely face. Bow down, archangels, in your dim abode. Before you were, or any hearts to beat, weary and kind one lingered by his seat. He made the world to be a grassy road before her wandering feet. End of poem. If Michael, leader of God's host, when heaven and hell are met, looked down on you from heaven's doorpost, he would his deeds forget. Brooding no more upon God's wars in his divine homestead, he would go weave out of the stars a chaplet for your head. And all folk, seeing him bow down, and white stars tell your praise, would come at last to God's great town, led on by gentle ways. And God would bid his warfare cease, saying all things were well, and softly make a rosy peace, a peace of heaven with hell. End of poem. Rose of all roses, rose of all the world, the tall thought-woven sails that flap unfurled above the tide of hours trouble the air, and God's bell buoyed to be the water's care, while hushed from fear or loud with hope, a band with blown spray-dabbled hair gather at hand. Turn if you may from battles never done, I call as they go by me one by one. Danger no refuge holds, and war no peace, for him who hears love sing and never cease, beside her clean-swept hearth, her quiet shade. But gather all for whom no love hath made a woven silence, or but came to cast a song into the air, and singing passed to smile on the pale dawn. And gather you, who have sought more than is in rain or dew, or in the sun and moon, or on the earth, or sighs amid the wandering starry mirth, or comes in laughter from the sea's sad lips, and wage God's battles in the long gray ships. The sad, the lonely, the insatiable, to these old night shall all her mystery tell. God's bell has claimed them by the little cry of their sad hearts, that may not live nor die. Rose of all roses, rose of all the world, you too have come where the dim tides are hurled upon the wharves of sorrow, and heard ring the bell that calls us on, the sweet far thing. Beauty, grown sad with its eternity, made you of us and of the dim gray sea. Our long ships loose thought-woven sails and wait, for God has bid them share an equal fate. And when at last, defeated in his wars, they have gone down under the same white stars, we shall no longer hear the little cry of our sad hearts, that may not live nor die. End of poem. Sung by the people of Faery over Diarmid and Grania, who lay in their bridal sleep under a cromlech. We who are old, old and gay, oh, so old, thousands of years, if all were told, give to these children, new from the world, silence and love, and the long dew-dropping hours of the night, and the stars above. Give to these children, new from the world, rest far from men. Is anything better? Anything better? Tell us it then. Us who are old, old and gay, oh, so old, thousands of years, if all were told. End of poem. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always, night and day, I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray. I hear it in the deep heart's core. End of poem. The angels are stooping above your bed. They weary of trooping with the whimpering dead. God's laughing in heaven to see you so good. The shining 7 are gay with his mood. I kiss you and kiss you, my pigeon, my own. Ah, how I shall miss you when you have grown. End of poem. I rise in the dawn, and I kneel and blow till the seed of the fire flicker and glow, and then I must scrub and bake and sweep till stars are beginning to blink and peep, and the young lie long and dream in their bed of the matching of ribbons for bosom and head, and their day goes over in idleness, and they sigh if the wind but lift a tress, while I must work because I am old, and the seed of the fire gets feeble and cold. End of poem. A pity beyond all telling is hid in the heart of love. The folk who are buying and selling, the clouds on their journey above, the cold wet winds ever blowing, and the shadowy hazel grove where mouse-gray waters are flowing, threaten the head that I love. End of poem. The quarrel of the sparrows in the eaves, the full round moon and the star-laden sky, and the loud song of the ever-singing leaves had hid away earth's old and weary cry. And then you came with those red mournful lips, and with you came the whole of the world's tears, and all the trouble of her laboring ships, and all the trouble of her myriad years. And now the sparrows whirring in the eaves, the curt pale moon, the white stars in the sky, and the loud chanting of the unquiet leaves are shaken with earth's old and weary cry. End of poem. When you are old and grey and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read, and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true, but one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. End of poem. I would that we were, my beloved, white birds on the foam of the sea, with a star of twilight hung low on the rim of the sky, has awaked in our hearts, my beloved, a sadness that may not die. A weariness comes from those dreamers dew-dabbled, the lily and rose. Ah, dream not of them, my beloved, the flame of the meteor that goes, or the flame of the blue star that lingers hung low in the fall of the dew. For I would we were changed to white birds on the wandering foam, I and you. I am haunted by numberless islands and many a Danaan shore, where time would surely forget us, and sorrow come near us no more. Soon far from the rose and the lily, and fret of the flames would we be, were we only white birds, my beloved, buoyed out on the foam of the sea. End of poem. I dreamed that one had died in a strange place, near no accustomed hand, and they had nailed the boards above her face, the peasants of that land. And wandering, planted by her solitude, a cypress and a yew, I came and wrote upon a cross of wood, man had no more to do. She was more beautiful than thy first love, this lady by the trees, and gazed upon the mournful stars above, and heard the mournful breeze. End of poem. All the heavy days are over. Leave the body's colored pride underneath the grass and clover, with the feet laid side by side. One with her are mirth and duty. Bear the gold embroidered dress, for she needs not her sad beauty to the scented oaken press. Hers the kiss of Mother Mary, the long hair is on her face. Still she goes with footsteps wary, full of earth's old timid grace. With white feet of angels 7, her white feet go glimmering, and above the deep of heaven, flame on flame and wing on wing. End of poem. Stood among a crowd a drummer here. His heart hung all upon a silken dress, and he had known at last some tenderness before earth made of him her sleepy care. But when a man poured fish into a pile, it seemed they raised their little silver heads and sang how day a druid twilight sheds upon a dim, green, well-beloved isle, where people love beside star-laden seas, how time may never mar their fairy vows under the woven roofs of quickened boughs. The singing shook him out of his new ease. He wandered by the sands of Lysadil. His mind ran all on money cares and fears, and he had known at last some prudent years before they heaped his grave under the hill. But while he passed before a pleshy place, a logworm with its grey and muddy mouth sang how somewhere to north or west or south there dwelt a gay, exulting, gentle race, and how beneath those 3 times blessed skies a Danaan fruitage makes a shower of moons, and as it falls awakens leafy tunes. And at that singing he was no more wise. He mused beside the well of Scanavin. He mused upon his mockers. Without fail his sudden vengeance were a country tale, now that deep earth has drunk his body in. But one small knot-grass growing by the pool told where, little all unneeded voice, old silence bids a lonely folk rejoice, and chaplet their calm brows with leafage cool. And how, when fades the sea-strewn rose of day, a gentle feeling wraps them like a fleece, and all their trouble dies into its peace. The tale drove his fine angry mood away. He slept under the hill of Lugnagal, and might have known at last unhaunted sleep under that cold and vapor-turbaned steep, now that old earth has taken man and all. Were not the worms that spired about his bones a-telling with their low and reedy cry of how God leans his hands out of the sky to bless that isle with honey in his tones, that none may feel the power of squall and wave, and no one any leaf-crowned dancer miss until he burns up nature with a kiss. The man has found no comfort in the grave. End of poem. Beloved, gaze in thine own heart. The holy tree is growing there. From joy the holy branches start, and all the trembling flowers they bear. The changing colors of its fruit have dowered the stars with merry light. The surety of its hidden root has planted quiet in the night. The shaking of its leafy head has given the waves their melody, and made my lips and music wed, murmuring a wizard song for thee. There through bewildered branches go winged loves borne on in gentle strife, tossing and tossing to and fro the flaming circle of our life. When looking on their shaken hair, and dreaming how they dance and dart, thine eyes grow full of tender care. Beloved, gaze in thine own heart. Gaze no more in the bitter glass the demons with their subtle guile lift up before us when they pass, or only gaze a little while. For there a fatal image grows, with broken boughs and blackened leaves, and roots half hidden under snows, driven by a storm that ever grieves. For all things turn to barrenness in the dim glass the demons hold, the glass of outer weariness, made when God slept in times of old. There through the broken branches go the ravens of unresting thought, peering and flying to and fro to see men's souls bartered and bought. When they are heard upon the wind, and when they shake their wings, alas, thy tender eyes grow all unkind. Gaze no more in the bitter glass. End of poem. Know that I would accounted be true brother of that company who sang to sweeten Ireland's wrong, ballad and story, ran and song. Nor be I any less of them because the red rose bordered hem of her whose history began before God made the angelic clan trails all about the written page. For in the world's first blossoming age, the light fall of her flying feet made Ireland's heart begin to beat, and still the starry candles flare to help her light foot here and there, and still the thoughts of Ireland brood upon her holy quietude. Nor may I less be counted one with Davis, Mangan, Ferguson, because to him who ponders well, my rhymes more than their rhyming tell of the dim wisdoms old and deep that God gives unto man in sleep. For the elemental beings go about my table to and fro. In flood and fire and clay and wind, they huddle from man's pondering mind. Yet he who treads in austere ways may surely meet their ancient gaze. Man ever journeys on with them after the red rose bordered hem. Ah, fairies dancing under the moon, a druid land, a druid tune. While still I may, I write for you the love I lived, the dream I knew. From our birthday until we die is but the winking of an eye. And we, our singing and our love, the mariners of night above, and all the wizard things that go about my table to and fro, are passing on to where may be, in truth's consuming ecstasy, no place for love and dream at all, for God goes by with white footfall. I cast my heart into my rhymes, that you in the dim coming times may know how my heart went with them after the red rose bordered hem. End of poem. End of the Rose by William Butler Yeats.